sitting down here today with Chase Hughes, who I've known for about 5 years now. He's a pretty special guy that came into my life and changed my life in so many ways. And I wanted to make this podcast today because I think that I've seen Chase on so many different podcasts where people are kind of talking about the books that he's written and all of the things that he's done or his models of influence. But I've never seen anyone talk about Chase's life story yet. And for anyone who doesn't know, Chase's life story is a pretty remarkable one. And I think it's a interesting and important part of all of the incredible work that he's put out and kind of given back to the world. So that's what we'll be going through today. Chase, thanks for coming in, buddy.
Yeah,
In your own house. Appreciate you being here.
yeah, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So basically, I kind of wanted to start at the beginning. Let's start off with a little bit about your childhood, maybe, and even going back, like just tell us a little bit about your family and anything you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I was born in Arkansas, and all my family, mom's side and dad's side, is all in Arkansas. We moved to Houston, Texas, when I was like 2 or 3, and my grandfather was a senator. We lived in Houston. He was a senator in Louisiana, and I don't know why. I never asked, but he we kind of moved in with him for a little while until I was like 4 or 5, and then my grandfather also owned a large company that specialized in hauling these giant pipelines that go on an 18-wheeler, and they would just screw them all together and use them for oil rigs, so drilling out oil and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's called Service Truck Line, and all throughout that part of my childhood, it was kind of I'm probably up to the age of like 9 or 10. It was a very country club existence. And I just, as a kid, you don't know that there's other ways of life out there.
Right.
So it was like, let's go to the golf course, let's go to tennis lessons, let's go to the country club summer camp and swimming pool and all of that throughout the summers. So it was a cool, like I had a pretty privileged upbringing, and going through middle school, like around 4th, 5th grade, I started getting like D's in everything. Everything was like a D.
What do you think was happening there?
I think I just lost interest in school. Like it wasn't fun. I don't know. Something changed in my brain around 4th grade.
Your brothers, sisters, or anything like that?
I have a younger sister, and that's it. And her name's Holly, and she's the interim CEO right now of my company. We grew up really close, but I just couldn't pass a grade. Like if I got a C minus, my parents would take me out to dinner. Like it was a big deal for me to get any grade above a D.
Yeah.
And then 9th, 10th, 11th, it was like I was just failing everything nonstop, and it was just like, you had to like give CPR to my report card toward the end of the year in order for me to just barely survive to get to the next year. Summer schools and all that kind of stuff. And around the age of 12, I went to a military school in Missouri, and it's a boarding school. So like you get shipped off, it's 1,000 miles from home down in Houston. And there's all these other boys there who also had trouble, like, and so you're not getting like, oh, everyone here is structured. Everyone there's got sent there for a reason, right now. So my roommate at the school, his name was Brian Bonsall. He is the kid from the Disney movie Blank Check.
No way. I didn't know that at all. That's
So he's my roommate at this school we're exactly the same age. And going through this military school, I think saved my life, not from an academic perspective, but just like worldview, self-discipline, and just kind of understanding what leadership is. Because the kids in the school lead themselves. So like there's kids that rise ranks.
Right.
So like if you get written up like a little report or something, that's a kid doing that. There's not an adult,
Oh, really? This is a kind of Lord of the Flies almost.
but with a very structured rank system, and the kids who are good leaders get pushed up and pushed up.
Right.
It's good. Like the responsible, mature kids kind of float to the top, which was not me.
Right.
At that.
But how did it feel leaving your home around like 12 years old, you said, to go to military school?
Yeah. Oh, it's awful, man. Awful. Every other night, we could go down to the first floor and they had a payphone down there. And you pick up these little scratch off, like calling cards. So you can call home.
Yes.
This is pre cell phone, obviously. And I was calling my parents and I said, "This is a huge mistake. And y'all need to come get me. But thanks for trying, but look, I'm ready to go home." They're like, "No, we're not coming to get you." And then like summer came, we went home. You go home during summer.
Okay.
And at the end of summer, I was like, "Man, I can't wait." That's all my friends, my social network, predictability kind of came back in my life. And that's what I really needed. I needed some kind of structure. And I think that saved me. And I left that military school before I graduated. And I essentially took an exam. I'm just going to say that with some air quotes. I took an exam and tested out of high school. And I was 17. I was a junior in high school. Never even started senior year. And
That was when you tested out or when you left the military academy.
yeah, so it's right as my senior year was starting. And I joined the Navy. This Navy recruiter, I'm like, where else am I? I'm not going to go to University of Trust. And this is all you know. That my other friends are going to Yale. Like,
Wow.
I was the dipshit. I was friends with everybody. Like I wasn't a misfit or anything. I just
Yeah.
hated school.
So people coming out of this Missouri Military Academy, a lot of them are going on to these really big Ivy League schools.
Oh yeah,
And
West Point, Yale, Harvard, Brown, LSU. A lot of friends went to LSU, University of Texas. But I was not college material at that time. So
Yeah.
I joined the military. This Navy recruiter in Memorial City Mall. It's a mall right by my house where I grew up. And this Navy recruiter had on this badass looking like white uniform, like head to toe, like this white crisp stuff with all these cool medals and stuff. I was like, whatever that is, that sounds cool. And he's like, "You get to travel. You're going to go to Thailand, Japan, and Singapore. You're going to go all over the world." And I talked to the Army recruiter. He's like, "Yeah, you go to maybe Germany or maybe the Middle East." All right. I'm like, "What? I'll come and see you later." So over to the Navy office, I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it."
So that was what dragged you towards the Navy, was the idea of kind of travel, novelty, adventure,
Yeah.
and like getting to see the world.
Yeah. So I joined the Navy as a mineman, where you're a technician for underwater mines, like locating them and disassembling. They pose a major threat to U.S. shipping, like and trade, huge threat to trade. So I get to boot camp and they're handing out all these jobs to everybody. We're all sitting Indian style, just kind of waiting for these jobs to come out. And I get this little card and it says undesignated seaman on it. So I was like, "No, that's not the job I picked." I knew the job. The recruiter tried to sell me on it and said, you get to go there, you kind of do some dirty work, but you get to pick your job. You kind of get to look around and pick your job later. And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to be a mineman." So they finished handing out all these cards. I'm looking at this thing and like, I'm going to be doing dirty work. I don't want to be doing this back-breaking, sunburned, sweating kind of stuff. I mean, you were a roofer. You know
Yep.
the labor.
Yeah.
So the drill sergeant, essentially, in the Navy, they call it an RDC, a recruit drill commander. And he gets up and he's like, "All right, anybody got a problem with your jobs?" And I was like, and he goes, "Put your hand down, Hughes." I was like, and that was it. I was a seaman. I was a native seaman.
Yeah.
So I somehow, just from random luck, I get these orders to go to Hawaii. And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to live in Hawaii. It's going to be amazing." So I get orders to a guided missile destroyer called the USS Russell. It was number 59,
How old are you at this point?
17.
Damn, so not even 18 yet.
I turned 18 on my first deployment.
Wow.
It was like the ship started leaving right as I got there. So it's January of 99 when I show up. And it's amazing. Hawaii's beautiful, everything's good. Then work starts. And it's dirty, nasty work. Scraping rust off the side of the ship while you're out to sea, or there's like if you just run your finger across the ship while it's out to sea, it's just like someone dumped salt on your It's just salt crystals on everything, which corrodes the ship because it's made of steel.
Right.
So like it's just a battle against rust. And I was doing that for like 3 years.
So what does that entail? Like, what's the daily life of that job?
Maintenance of the boat, a lot of cleaning, a lot of sweeping stuff. But it's all the deckhand type of stuff, the cool knots, the tying the boat to the pier, lowering the anchor, raising the anchor, getting stuff ready on the back of the boat for helicopters to land, some kind of cool stuff,
Yeah.
And then underway replenishment, which is when a giant tanker, you pull it next to this big ass tanker, and they shoot a cable over, and across this cable, while you're both going 13 knots,
Wow.
15 miles an hour, they lower down this gigantic hose that pumps like I think 5 to 10,000 gallons a minute, which is massive.
That's
So
crazy.
the hose is like this big, like a basketball size,
Yeah.
and it launches into this little thing, and they just pump fuel, and you're sitting there for sometimes 2 or 3 hours. It's incredible. So anyway, running those operations, all kind of like the cool. Are we towing another ship?
Yeah.
Lowering the anchor, bringing up the anchor, tying the ship to the pier, all those kind of little nautical things. Um, and that was the beginning. That was the start of my naval career.
Cool. So that's your Pacey from 17 to kind of 18 or something,
21 probably.
right up to 21.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you start did you go to a bunch of different countries? Did you start going?
Oh yeah. I think at 21 I had gone to Singapore, Thailand, Japan, Guam, which is the United States.
Yeah.
Um, all over the Middle East, Dubai, Oman, India.
Wow. I have a lot of traveling for a kid that age.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the world to see.
Yeah, lot in Australia. Went to Darwin, Perth, Sydney, and Adelaide. So like the ship stops all over the place in Malaysia and Indonesia. The first stop I ever had in my life was Indonesia. And it was right after a horrible, horrible conflict that happened in 1999. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's called the Timor-Leste, Leste conflict. These rebels cut people's heads off and burned an entire population. And like we go out to shore on this place, man, maybe the worst thing I've ever seen. So yeah, 21, that's like the start of my naval career. The recruiter was right. He was truthful, but he was like, hey, you're going to do some crappy work and it's going to suck. And it was true. It's right. But it was good. I mean, I think I learned a lot about accountability, and I had some good mentors that helped not just teach me, like you're not sitting there and he's like, oh, here's what life is all about. But they set an example and they help you to kind of like mirror some of them because you're hanging around them so much.
Yeah. Sweet, man. All right. So then what happens after 21? What was your next role?
So I'm still on the Russell. I'm still on the same ship.
So you know the ship well now at this point. It's like it's your home. I would imagine it feels like a home.
Yeah. And as a kid in the military, in the Navy, you live on the ship. Unless you have a wife and kids, then they give you housing allowance. But if you don't have a wife and kids, that's your house.
Yeah.
Even when you're home.
Even when you're in port in Hawaii,
Absolutely.
your room is on the boat.
Yes.
Wow.
So we would go back to the boat every night, which was fine. I loved it.
Right.
There was something cool about it. But that was the beginning. But then the next phase is I'm up on the bridge all the time. One of my main duties as 17, 18, 19, 20
Yeah.
year old was lookout. Helmsman, which is you're driving the boat.
Yeah.
Steering wheel, driving the boat. It's always like a 19-year-old kid. And there's 2 lookouts on the port and starboard side of the boat. And during that time, you're out there and you have binoculars around your neck. This is when the ship's out to sea, obviously. But you're scanning the horizon like every 60 seconds. And at nighttime, you've got this giant night vision thing you're looking at, these huge steel binoculars, looking for boats, identifying aircraft, identifying boats, looking for what flags that thing flying, how far is it? Is the smoke of the smokestack going this way so it can tell the boat's traveling this way based on the wind speed at our location? It's like you learn a lot about this stuff. But spending time up on the bridge of the ship, I had to hang out with these guys called signalmen. And the job is gone now. They deleted it because it's so ancient. But their specialty is in communicating through physical means. So like all those nautical flags you see in like seafood restaurants,
Yeah.
those all have meanings. So like one's a 7, one's a Q, one's an M, one's a 9.
And I showed you before, you still have the whole alphabet completely memorized.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That was a test we had to do every 6 months. Like they had this giant fat deck of flashcards of the flags, and you had to go through them in 90 seconds.
And so for people who don't know, basically you hold the flags, I think, in a certain location, right? To spell out a different letter.
You will hook them up in a giant string of like 5 or 6, 8 flags,
Oh, cool.
and then haul them up on the yard arm, the thing that sticks out on the very top of the ship.
Got it. And then that signals whatever letter to the other.
Yeah. So like it's PQ997. And then we have a book we flip through. Oh, that means we need to get into a line. And then they put up one flag that says, we understand. And then the ship's moving. Right. So the other part of that was Morse code, where at nighttime, with either using infrared, where you have to put night vision goggles on, or just with a bright white light, you can talk to the other ships. So there's no electronic communications at all. But this is from the 1920s, 1910, 1930, when that stuff was necessary.
Right. So your radios might go out, I guess, or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you need to bypass something because encryption doesn't exist. So it was dead. So then it's Morse code. And then when the ships are closer together, you put these 2 orange flags in your hands and you can communicate using your hands. So each one of these hand signals is a letter. And that's called semaphore. So we did that and I became a signalman. I was a 3rd class signalman. Then I was a 2nd class signalman a few years later, doing all the Morse code and everything. And then before I could become an SM1 signalman 1st class, they deleted our rig and said, you have to become either this or this. So I got to choose between being the navigator of the ship, which is called a quartermaster, not the same as what it is here, or you can become a cop, a police officer.
So like an NCIS kind of deal?
In a uniform. You're not an agent.
Right. Okay.
No. You're like military police. Like you're driving around the base.
Just dealing with
Dealing with some riprap. Yeah. Homeless guy jumped over the gauge, that kind of so I didn't want to do that at all. So I wanted to navigate the ship because I know that job. I'm hanging out with those guys 24/7. So I became a navigator. And at this time, I get stationed at a detainee facility right as this is happening. And on and off, working with detainees for 3 straight years. And I'm a navigator, but I don't know enough about it to be a 1st class petty officer navigator. I should not have been.
Right.
But I passed an exam, which means that my knowledge.
And they had to do something with you. You'd already been in the military for a while or in the Navy.
We have to pass an exam.
Right.
And everybody who passes, they only promote like the top 10% based on your evaluations, what people say about you and all that stuff. But somehow I made it. And after all these detainee operations for 3.5 years, I go back to the Russell. Same shift.
So what are the detainee operations? This is like, or you're now not posted on a ship, you're posted in a physical location.
Anyway, inside of a detainee facility.
And at this point, you're still technically a navigator, but you're just not doing what your role is technically.
Correct. And I've always been a navigator. So that's my bread and butter. Do you like celestial navigation, shooting the stars, like actually doing trigonometry to figure out where the ship is, and like there's tons of math involved in that.
So it seemed like at some point around this time is when your mind kind of started to blow, like, 'cause you were a bad student, you said, when you were younger.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so this is mid-20s, I'm guessing now?
Yeah.
Seems like at some point around here, like, maybe it was your focus or discipline or something kind of shifted to where you started to really use your mind in a new way, like learning trigonometry and the stars and memorizing these weird alphabets with sign language.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes some memorization. It's not anybody who could just I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I did, and I'd already started studying psychology and body language and all that stuff at this time because I used it a lot with these detainee operations and stuff.
Let's talk about that for a second. What was the first time that you ever got really motivated or passionate about studying human behavior, psychology, body language kind of stuff?
I think the very first time I did it, I was reading these psychology books. I'm reading Carl Jung and profiling books and stuff like that. There's an FBI profiling manual that I got a hold of. It was a government manual that you couldn't even find on Amazon. To this day, you can't find on Amazon.
Wow.
And I'm reading through all these things and kind of piecing all this stuff together like a schizophrenic with the yarn, that goes
Yeah.
newspaper.
There's that meme on the internet of the guy with all this, oh, yeah, pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my brain was like, rolled stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember going out to Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, and this guy, like everybody else was like really afraid of this guy. And for the first time in my life, something clicked in my head, and like, because he was kind of an asshole, like he's a big guy, posturing guy, but just like I went from brain to heart instantly. Something shifted where I was like, there's a voice in my head is like, oh my God, he's scared. He's just fearful. And I felt empathy instead of like, I'm calling him a douchebag, or which I would have done, right? 100% would have done. But I felt this like surge of empathy, like I can see the Matrix. Like I felt like it was Neo.
Right.
No one else could see what I am seeing. Like that's kind of what Neo is, that's the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. He sees behind the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest one for me. And then I started learning the really deep, hardcore persuasion level stuff. And the first time I ever used that on a person, it worked so well that my heart rate was probably at like 180 or 200. I was like, I'm going to go to prison. Like, I just felt like I was breaking the rules of reality. Like reality shouldn't work this way. And I was really nervous.
Yeah.
But it's addicting because you live in a layer of reality that other people don't live in. And that's that's not hyperbole. That's legit shit. Like you're seeing stuff nobody else is going to see.
Yeah.
So it gets so addictive because every time you get better at it, you start seeing this next layer and next layer. You can't stop chasing layers because every time you're like, there's got to be something even more than this and more. So that's been the entire past 30 years of my life is what's the next layer? What's the next level?
Like a never ending onion. I think I've heard you use that metaphor.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. And that's, I'm probably 29 or so, 28 at this point, 25.
But when you first got obsessed with body language, human behavior,
I was 19.
yeah, that was still at the very beginning of the journey.
Oh, yeah.
So then, and that was still when you were doing the deckhand work.
Yep.
So then 21, we started as a navigator. You started as a navigator, and then you end up getting stuck kind of in the trainee center.
Yeah.
Doing some stuff that's not really normally your job, but this is just what they're sticking you on.
Yeah. And that's very common in the Navy. Very common. So you're this job if you're on ship, but every 5 years you need to rotate off of a ship for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
5 and 3.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So during those 3 years, there's no ships to navigate on land. So, you take a security job or you go do this or that. So there's a lot of,
Right. And so when you start doing the detaining job, whatever you're doing there, you've already now got a fascination in psychology. You've already got some pretty key skills in terms of understanding human beings and human behavior and even understanding influence a little bit. So you're probably starting to, I would imagine, look at everything that's going on in this detainee situation from a lens that maybe most people aren't.
absolutely. And I'm trying to use those things as much as I can. So then, and they were very successful, extremely successful. And they're not even the level of NCI 1, like the primary course of NCI.
Wow.
It's not even that level. And it was like, you are the king of this detaining facility. You've got all of these tricks and tactics and stuff. And they were just so basic.
Wow.
So then I go back to a ship as a navigator and did that for a few years, and then moved to another destroyer, which was USS Chaffee, uh, number 90, also in Hawaii, and became a chief on that boat. And then
That must have been a big moment for you becoming a chief.
for anybody in the Navy, it's the biggest thing that can possibly happen to a sailor is becoming a chief. In the Navy, they make that a huge, huge deal. And you wear a different uniform, like your whole uniform is different.
Wow.
Everybody else is wearing these blue things and stuff, and you have like khaki, head to toe. You're wearing like this khaki uniform, and it's been that way since like the 1913, I think.
Wow.
It's insane.
Didn't you say something about the chiefs? Or is that just the master chiefs? But it's almost like not decided. It's the only thing that's decided by Congress or something.
Yeah, the rank of chief was decided and created by Congress.
So it's a pretty interesting role then.
It is
Kind of somehow a little bit different than the rest of the Navy.
a little different, yeah. And it's a hardcore selection process. The boards are insane. And then you get like, you kind of go through this like fraternity style initiation that's 4 or 5 weeks long, or you're marching around and doing silly shit most of the time.
So the selection processes are kind of similar to like what you hear about people going through with these other selections for whether it be the SEALs or something like that, or is very different.
No, it's a board.
Okay.
And you never meet any of the board members. They're in Tennessee. The Navy personnel headquarters is in Millington, Tennessee. So these huge group of like, I don't know, 40 or 50 master chiefs
Bam.
are all sitting in like a movie theater together. And their job is to decide who's a quartermaster that needs to become a chief. We have to make like for 1 year, you might only get 8 chiefs in the entire U.S. Navy.
Wow. I didn't realize that. So you always
Yeah.
talk about chief, but I never really understood the context to it.
Yeah. So like 1 year, they're like, nope, we only need 8 quartermaster chiefs this year. So they're sitting in there. They have 390 something applicants,
Bam.
and all of your record goes up there. From the day you join the Navy, every time anyone's ever evaluated you, every time you've been counseled, you've been written up, you got in trouble, everything is there. And their job is to like bring all this stuff up on the screen, kind of like, let's rank and stack them. Oh, this guy beats that guy. You have to do this with 400 people until they have like this list of like top 10.
How sounds crazy. So it's like a 2% selection process.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So becoming a chief is cool. I'm very proud of it. But then you sleep in a different area. You eat in this little private area, and you're kind of this weird limbo area between an officer and the enlisted people, even though you are enlisted.
Interesting.
And they really separate you out. After the Chaffee, I was the navigator of the Chaffee, because the navigator is supposed to be an officer, a surface warfare officer. But they sent us a Coast Guard person. She was the awesomest person ever. Her name was Joellen Aarons. I still talk to her today. She's an incredible human being. But in the Navy, you have to have all these qualifications to be a navigator, which would have taken her 3 years to get those qualifications.
Right.
And I had all of them, which meant that I became the navigator of ships. Like you are the final say-so for voyages and mission planning and everything, how much fuel you're going to burn, and everything that happens, like planning out a voyage.
You play up a whole route.
Yeah, do you want to go under Guam or over Guam? Do you want to go south of this giant hurricane, or you want to try to travel north of it and risk it and save $70,000 of fuel or something like that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a cool job. And I transitioned from there back to Houston, Texas, where I was a Navy recruiter for a little while. And this is like the type of dude that goes into your high school and like hands out little keychains and t-shirts and stuff like that.
So now this is in your off ship time, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Right.
It's after that 5-year period.
Yeah.
So now we're in Houston. and just north of Houston. I was in a town called Cleveland, Texas. So I'm going into high schools, talking kids into going in the Navy, and did well in recruiting, obviously, but it was a great job. Like, I gave every kid that I put in the Navy, and they're mostly kids. There's some 25, 30-year-old, but mostly kids. Every kid I put in the Navy, I gave his parents my cell phone number. They still call me.
Wow.
They still call me. Yeah. Like, "Hey, where are you stationed now?" I'm a civilian now. I retired a while ago. Uh, but I still give them advice, and the kids I put in the Navy still get a call. So that was a really rewarding thing. That there's a lot of military recruiters out there who lie to people, and they're like, "Oh, this is the job I guarantee once you get to boot camp, they're going to change your job for you." That's not true.
Yeah.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
You'll never have a great story about changing things after you join. But I think if you're honest with people, like my recruiter was like, "Yeah, that job sucks, but you get to pick what you want to." And I did. It's true.
Yeah, and you're gonna go travel the world, which
Yeah. Yeah. So all that was true. But so I tried to do the exact same for everybody. Like, if it was my kid, that's how I wanted to treat everybody else. So it was a great time in Cleveland, Texas. And then Cleveland, Texas, that was kind of like, I had been in the Navy now for about 12, 13 years. But still a chief. I got to run this entire recruiting station in Cleveland, Texas, with all 0 recruiters underneath me. It was just me. I was fast, all alone in this town. And the Army recruiter next door. So we're like in a little shopping mall thing. And so after here, I get orders to go to Virginia. And in the Navy, you can pick your orders. Okay. Like, you log into the internet, there's like, here are the 13 available orders. So I can select from my priorities, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that gets sent to a guy who says, "Oh, sorry, man, that one's taken. This one requires you to have this qualification that you don't have. So I'm going to give you number 3.
right.
So they try to get you what you want, but at the end of the day, the Navy's priorities are the highest, of course,
Right.
as it should be.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So I get orders to come out to Virginia to Mobile Diving and Salvage Unit 1, so which working under EOD, the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team. And I get in charge of the ASP, Area Search Platoon. So I'm the chief of this platoon. And for the first time ever, I'm no longer on the ship part of the Navy permanently. I'm off the ship part of the Navy.
Wow. So it's a big change, I guess.
Huge. Yeah. So, and this is an expeditionary warfare unit. So, like, gunfighting, ground combat, green radios and Humvees and all this stuff that I didn't have a lot of exposure to.
So that was the entry into kind of the more special operations side of the Navy.
Correct. Yeah. So this is I'm this chief of a platoon of people that is running underwater robotic systems. So these are ROVs, a remote operating vehicle, a UUV, an unmanned underwater vehicle, and it's autonomous. So it's
Man.
like koozie. Builds these little waypoints in it and throw it in the water. There's no cables, nothing. It just dives down and does what she's supposed to do. And I did that for a few years. And let's keep going. You want to keep going? Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you come back and clean up whatever you want.
Yeah.
So after that, I moved over to the port operations for a little while. And in Little Creek, Virginia, which is where the base was, there's kind of a special operations base, and Army's out there and Navy's out there.
Yeah.
Even the Italian special forces are out there on this base, and French and British and all of that right there in Little Creek. So on the same base, I went to port operations because it's a harbor here too. And I was working in the harbor master office for another year and a half. It was just a short temporary thing. They had a thing to fill, and I kind of came in to fill that position. Then I went even more into the hardcore combat side of the military and went into this thing called CRS 4, Coastal Riverine Squadron 4, working under CRG 2, Coastal Riverine Group 2. And if you've seen the movies, like the Vietnam movies where the dudes are on like the boat, little tiny river boat, and there's like 12 dudes on there,
Yeah.
all blackout face paint and like submachine guns and stuff. And like they jump off the boat, do jumbo warfare and stuff like that, get back on the boat. That's the unit. So that's where our unit got its start. So the Riverine operations got started in Vietnam, where they were called Brown Water Navy. So big Navy's blue water, and what they refer to us as the Brown Water Navy,
The dirty little rivers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So at this point, you started doing combat training, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Or right, or when you were in, when was the first time you started doing the combat training? Is it when you're in the underwater robotics?
Yeah. Before going to that, I went to expeditionary and I think advanced combat school in Gulfport, Mississippi, on the way to this new command.
That makes sense. And is this around when your first combat deployment is? Or do you have a combat deployment before that?
Uh, I wouldn't call any of my deployments a combat deployment.
Okay.
With the stuff that dudes go through,
Right.
I would not say any of mine have been combat deployments. But okay, so we're at CRS.
Yeah.
So in this Riverine squadron, the Navy, some admiral or something somewhere found these boats that are not Navy boats. They're like stainless steel and they're made for racing and stuff and like Coast Guard rescues and this crazy stuff. He's like, you know what? Let's change up this boat a little bit and make it look like a stealth bomber and make it inside look like a spaceship cockpit. And I'm going to buy like 40 of those boats. And they're expensive. They're very expensive boats.
Is this the one you showed me the one time?
I took you on it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, just imagine like,
We'll throw one up on the screen.
yeah. It's like the Millennium fucking Falcon of boats. Pretty cool.
It is a Millennium Falcon. So I get assigned to be the LCPO, the leading chief petty officer of this entire boat unit. And it's like a couple hundred dudes. And these boats are called a Mark 6. And we'll throw some up on the screen and all that kind of stuff. And they're made for security operations, reconnaissance, and sneaky stuff. And they can like covertly launch little robots out into the water. Robots that I was already an expert in.
Yeah.
Expert. So it kind of come in full circle. And we start training on these boats. The Navy has no SOPs. The Navy has there's no procedures, no policies, nothing. No one knows anything. So it's kind of like you need to just figure it out. So there's no like, here's the maximum waves we can operate in, maximum wind speed. Here's how we operate with helicopters. Here's how we pull people out of the water for a man overboard operation. There's nothing. We had to figure all of this out.
Because they were so brand new and so special.
Yes.
Just like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I wound up being the guy that developed all of these procedures to get this boat. Like if you're taking on a heavy bullets or you're getting rocket attacks or you've got to bring helicopters in to get people off, is to write these like SOP training procedures. I'm lucky enough to have this. It was a fun job, really fun job. And it was like in the non-Navy part of the Navy. It was very Army, Marine Corps. It's what it felt like every day, especially on deployments. But it was cool. I had to write the SOPs for all these boats. So there's dudes out there on these boats right now that maybe they're still using. Maybe they do it in the trash early.
Either you're welcome or I'm sorry.
Yeah. One of the two. Yeah. So then that was it. I had my retirement. Well, I'll tell you the way that I kind of got out of combat duty, like frontline combat unit, which was our unit. The bunch of deployments with these guys, best dudes in the world, best friend that I've ever made in my lifetime, which you've met some of those guys that I was deployed with.
Incredible dudes.
Super Bowl guys. And I'm in the Middle East, we're in the middle of an operation. It's like 2 a.m. And with these like sneaky operations, you have to calculate when the moon is coming over the horizon, because the moon's going to illuminate your boat so much that people can, just with regular cheap binoculars from Toys R Us, they can say, oh, that's a Navy boat. It's not supposed to be here. So where do you calculate moon rise? It is a fun fact. The time the moon rises goes backwards 51 minutes a day.
I did not know that.
Fun fact. So we're out there. It's like 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm having these weird pains in my chest. And I'm thinking like, it's probably a panic attack. It's probably a panic attack. And then we have a navigator. So I'm the captain of this boat. And the navigator guy is sitting like in the front of the cockpit all the way on the left. And our navigator, his name was Jake Harris. And I was like, Jake, how long until how long until RTB? So like, how long, if we turn around now, how long would it take to get back? And he said, oh, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. I was like, all right, keep me updated on that number. And he goes, hour and 40 or 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2 hours, 45 minutes. And in my head, I'm thinking like, if something's wrong with my heart, like that's the time that's going to take me to get help. There's no helicopter coming out here where we are in the Persian Gulf to come pick me up. It's not going to happen. So finally, we called everything off. I went back and they sent me to this hospital in Bahrain, like a local hospital. There's no military medical center there. So I'm in this hospital in Bahrain. They did this full heart scan and everything. I found out I have an aneurysm, an aortic aneurysm, which is where your aorta, which is like the size of a garden hose, like the wall of it starts getting thin and it kind of bubbles out. So my aorta was bubbling out.
Damn.
It still is. It hasn't gotten fixed because it hasn't reached a threshold for some surgery thing. But the doctor there, his name's Chris Claggett. He's a good friend of mine now. I didn't know him at all. He was just some doctor that I've never met before.
Yeah.
But he's in charge of this entire the combat group. He's like, no, take his ass out, send him back to Virginia. So I got to fly back to Virginia, like right away. And that was done. That was the end of my deployment. And came back here. Later, he and I became friends. But about maybe a year and a half later, I retired. And that was the end of my journey.
So let's go back a little bit now. How many deployments? There was a lot of deployments that you did in total throughout your career.
Yeah. I would say 8 and a half deployments. The final one being the one that
I mean, I'm not in the military, but from what I've heard, that's a lot. Like 8.5 deployments is a lot of deployments.
yeah, about 7 to 9 months. And especially when you have kids, there's nothing that can give that time back to your kids, no matter what you do. It's tough, really rough on kids.
I believe, man. All right, interesting. So, and I know obviously there's some parts about your career we can't get into all the details about, but in terms of the human behavior stuff. So I know you start being really into it when you're 19 years old. Then in your early 20s, seems like it kind of develops. There's kind of some more professional aspects of it that are layered on there.
Yeah.
And then at what point was there kind of a jump to getting deep into like the real deep end of professional behavior psychology in an applied way? As much as I know you can't talk about that much of it, but
I don't think for me it was ever in a hugely professional way. I was developing curriculum for a long time, but the first time that it really meant something is I developed this one little protocol that a person could use in a detainee situation. And it got adopted by the Department of Defense. And it was like, wow. Like it was my first time where I was like, I needed that external validation to feel like this is something that's worth pursuing. Like I am worth continuing down this path. Like, so I need to keep doing it. And I was probably 35. I was 3 years away from retirement at the time. So it didn't really pay a lot of dividends. I did a lot of training and stuff like that along the way, like teaching people and walking people, mentoring people through the process. And there were Intel guys and there were IS dudes, Intel specialist guys.
yeah.
That was really rewarding because they got that. And every time I would train one of these guys that went through all these intelligence schools, universally, they would say, this is 10 times better than our school. And I thought, I think the first few times I heard it, I was like, wow, thank you. But in the back of my mind, I was like, they're lying to make me feel good. That was exactly what's going on in my head. They're lying to me so I feel better about myself. It took a while for me to kind of have enough self-worth to say, like, wow, these things are really going to change a lot of people. They're going to change a lot of lives. That was midway through my career when it started getting a little more serious. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it sounds like then the DoD picked up that one particular method that was a big moment for you of like, all right, I got some type of external validation that I've been searching for.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah. What about any other studies or anything else about that I'm missing that we want to cover about the human behavior stuff at your time in the military?
No, I think we've at least kind of glossed over the biggest pieces.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'll tell you one quick story.
Let's do it.
So this is gonna be on the internet, right? Forever. So in Kauai, there's a mall, like a big outdoor mall. It's called Alamoana Mall.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's beautiful. But in this mall, there were two separate Abercrombie and Fitch stores.
Okay.
There's a men's store and a women's store.
All right.
I, 20 something years old, young kid, go and get a night job at nights and weekends working at the women's Abercrombie store. And that is where I practiced a lot of this behavior stuff and behavior profiling and influence and persuasion stuff. And that was where I kind of got a lot of like the anxiety that anybody, when they start learning, especially the influence stuff, they start learning some of these methods and they're like, well, I want to say that out loud, but like,
Right.
I need to be in a really, really low stakes situation. That's the place where I got all of that out of my system. So it was the perfect proving ground for me anyway. And I loved doing that. Even if we're like standing shirtless at the front of the store during the holidays or whatever, I could still, there's someone there. There's always someone there, and they're paid to just stand there. You know, it was the perfect scenario for me to start working on some of this stuff and just kind of piecing some of these pieces together that I've been wondering about.
One other part of the story I think would be cool for you to cover, I know you've talked about in public, is the story of the USS Cole and one of your best friends had something happen to him.
Yeah. I was like, you want another fun fact?
Yeah, please.
If you're speaking about a Navy ship,
Yeah.
you never use the word the.
All right.
It's a name of a person, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't say the Merman,
Right.
right? So it's USS Cole.
Got it. It's
Just as the
right.
point of etiquette,
Thank you.
in case you ever want to win the Jeopardy contest.
I mean, maybe people out there apologize in advance.
Most of them don't even know.
All right.
So, it is like the morning of September 11th, 2001. I'm living in a house. Then I'm in a city called Aiea, Hawaii. Only city in the country spelled with all vowels. There's another fun fact. So I'm at the 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, get all the phone calls start coming in. The ship gets underway. Like we're underway for 3 weeks. No one on the ship had brought underwear, change of clothes, nothing. We're out there for 3 weeks. Every single plane that flew into the Honolulu airport, all of our gun systems were tracking those planes all the way down to the runway, just ready to like pointed at a plane full of civilian people.
Well,
But it was a weird, weird moment.
it was super high alert the whole nother day.
Yeah. For weeks. Like missiles trained on planes and like it was insane. But that same day, the USS Cole bombing took place in the Gulf of Yemen. So USS Cole is sitting out there in the Gulf at anchor, and this little boat full of explosives just kind of drives right up and detonates this thing and this bomb. And a kid that I went to boot camp with and we went to A school with, his name was Craig Weberly. He was on the USS Cole, and he was on USS Cole. And he said But he was right there, and the bomb exploded right around the mess deck area where everybody eats breakfast and stuff. And
Right.
he got killed in that explosion. And another friend of mine that I was on Russell with, his name is Michael Noeth, got killed in the Pentagon. He left Russell and went to Washington, D.C. to become a draftsman, to draft plans up for military stuff. I don't really know what they do. But both of them killed the same day,
There.
And I read all these. If you have a secret clearance or you have like any kind of top secret or secret, there's a news briefing, one page that you can read every day.
Yeah.
But it's not classified. It's technically classified, but it's just pulled from sources all over the world, the most important headlines of the day, without stressing you out. Just here's a quick headline.
Right.
It's called The Early Bird. And that day I went and pulled a copy of the Early Bird. They would print them off and stick them in a little file. I'll grab one. And that day, it was reading about them, like these intelligence failures, or not that day, like the next day or the day after. And how we had intelligence operatives that didn't connect with people on the ground. They didn't have assets there because they didn't develop any assets, because they couldn't develop any assets. And I thought, man, this is like basic stuff.
It was just like embarrassing. You felt like maybe.
Yeah. And I thought if they just had a little bit of training, they could have developed assets, and they could have. And of course, there was so much hubris. I was way overly confident at this age.
Right.
There's so much hubris that I thought, I could. And at the age of, I don't know, 21 or however old I was like, yeah, I could teach them. I could teach all of them, which was probably not true at that age. Right. But I felt like if I'm not teaching them now, I'm going to develop a system that's the most devastatingly powerful psychological system that will ever exist. Well, that at least exists today.
Yeah.
And that's where NCI got started. Like, I'm putting this system together, train a government operative to go overseas so they can do literally anything.
Right.
They can do anything they want. And that's where all of that got started.
That makes sense. So, let me know if I'm getting this right. It's kind of like you want the U.S. military, supposed to be the best in the world, supposed to be going out here leading the world in terms of military capabilities. You see this big failure happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus, this needs to be better. And one of your friends passes away. I think it was one of your best friends, right?
It was in a very,
Yeah. So I can imagine that lighting a fire on the other side of you. It did, yes.
it did. I mean, I was still interested for all the other reasons.
Yeah.
That's, I think a lot of people have this hero's journey that they want to.
I want to paint the picture.
Sell your brand or sell the product.
Right.
I'm still very much selfishly interested in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I started creating everything, and I wanted the intelligence operatives or whoever used all of this to be able to have this system that they could do whatever they wanted to do with, not just develop an asset, but like, I want to develop an asset that's going to give me national state secrets or something really, really controversial. And that's where NCI got its beginnings. Pretty crazy at the beginning.
Very crazy story. Cool. Very interesting story.
And I'll tell you, as a quick side note,
Yeah.
I have been, growing up in the Navy, I attended interview school, interrogation school. I went through SEER training, which is like a resistance to interrogation. I went through their agent recruiting. I went through Valor. It's called a Valor system. It's basically sales. They're teaching you like manipulation in sales form. And another system that they use called PSS. And PSS was another essentially sales training thing. Everything that I've got through all of this stuff that was apparently the most advanced, supposedly, was nothing more than a How to Win Friends and Influence People book. And it was shake people's hand, maybe give them a firm handshake, look them in the eye, use their name, Merla, touch them on the shoulder,
Yeah.
remember their kids' names. Like, that's it. That's what the most elite intelligence operatives were getting. That's the level of training that they were getting. And I was just
Man, that's crazy.
stunned.
Yes.
Like, it has to be better than this. I thought Ashton Kutcher was going to pop out. I'm like, yeah, yeah, we're joking by giving all this training from 1960.
Yeah.
But that's where most people are. Most people are using, even to all over sales, hostage negotiation, doesn't matter, parenting. They're using advice that was written in 1940, 50, and 60.
Right.
And just like neuroscience and psychology, as the technology has been updated. So you're not going to go use a rotary telephone just because it works.
Right.
It does work, but there are better things available.
Right.
We have an iPhone now, and our persuasion and influence and behavior profiling stuff should evolve and be up to date with all of that stuff. And that's what NCI is.
Awesome. And that's kind of where it got to roots, I guess, was seeing that need, seeing the big discrepancy in like where we should be, where you thought it was possible for us to be versus what was going on.
Yeah.
And then kind of taking it upon yourself to try to put the puzzle pieces together.
Yes. Yes. That was it.
Awesome. And what about neuroscience, like endocrinology? When did you first start getting interested in all that? Because it seems it's kind of different, right?
So I started, I think that my brain knew that I was having some kind of seizures.
Really?
And this is after my retirement.
Yes.
So I retired probably for, I don't know, 9 months. I've been retired from the military. And I think my brain knew, because I knew that like there was this way to get automatic, to use your military GI Bill and your military college benefits. You automatically get accepted into these Harvard courses and stuff like that. So I did this. I signed up for this Harvard postgraduate level, so like a master's level certification in neuroscience and neuroendocrinology. And right as I started learning that is when I discovered my brain disease, like neuroscience, neurological disorder, like at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
And so like at the moment that's when I started classes. Like I only had 18, 20 pages in my little notebook drawn out and taking notes and stuff, little couple sketches of neurons and stuff like that in there.
Right.
But the moment that diagnosis came down, I was more interested in that kind of learning than I've ever been in my life. I wanted to know more about my condition than any neurologist that I would ever see. And I spent 4.5 years studying and studying and studying and ensuring that like I want to know more than anybody in the world about what's going on in my brain. And that may or may not be true. Probably not true. There's probably lots of people that know a lot, but I wanted to feel like I had a hand on the steering wheel of what was going to happen to my brain. It's going to happen to me. So like me becoming a good student, I don't think that's what that was. I think it was desperation. The moment I finished with Harvard, there was a course opening up at Duke University, at Duke University Medical School. And this was in medical neuroscience. And I was like, I need to take that. And it was relatively cheap compared to all the other universities out there.
Yeah.
And this is another postgraduate certification in medical neuroscience and neuroimaging and neuroradiology. And I started that same exact thing, just nonstop every day, 5 to 10 hours a day, study nonstop. And every time there's like one thing that I didn't fully understand, I'd spend a week unpacking this one concept.
Wow.
And then that would have a word in it, like that said like pyruvate. And I'm like, oh, what the hell is pyruvate?
Yeah.
And then it goes like, oh, pyruvate's when you split a sugar molecule in half. Like, why do you want to split a sugar molecule in half? Oh, because of the cellular respiration cycle. And then you're like, oh, the Krebs cycle. Like now another month of rabbit hole because I wanted to understand every single element of everything.
And that's crazy. I've definitely found that with learning anything about neuroscience. Try to listen to a lecture and then you get 5 minutes in, you don't know the word, what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Pause. It's like a very quickly unraveling spool of string that is seemingly never ending.
Yeah. That's very true.
No, that's incredible. So you just got obsessed with neuroscience as soon as you found out about your brain something clicked inside of you, your focus got generated on it, and you were able to just focus on this and being kind of obsessed about learning about how the brain works.
Yeah, I got to a point, and I, I reached a point in my life where I was losing memory. I was losing memories of like the faces of my own family members, and there were periods where I thought my dog was fake, like
Crazy.
like someone that's put hurt in my house, and it wasn't my actual dog. It's just bizarre brain decay that was happening, and they offer me these prescription medications, and the number one freaking side effect of this medication is seizures.
Yeah, it's just so messed up, man.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So I said, no, I don't want any of this. I don't want any of these prescriptions. And I won't even say how much I spent. I've spent some money talking to experts around the world. I've talked to every expert on the planet. I've became almost really good friends with the guy who did the first spinal cord transplant in a human being is now a good friend of mine. And me kind of going on this nonstop search to figure out pathways. And luckily we managed to figure out a good pathway.
Yeah, and so for people who don't know yet, 'cause I know that's something you love to share, is what are kind of some of the key nootropics or things that you're on? Not that we're giving anyone medical advice, but just for you, what are some of the things you figured out for yourself?
For me, and yeah, obviously any of this, you should talk to a doctor first. But the number one thing, the most potent change that I've ever made is taking methylene blue. That has drastically changed my life. It reduced my seizures from 9 a day to 0 a year.
With zero. Insane.
Yes.
Incredible.
To have a driver's license in Virginia, you have to be seizure free for 6 months. And that was a weird thing to be like, and I know that people are going through all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying that I'm suffering, but
Right.
just to not be able to drive is a weird feeling. You go from driving every day to like now you're legally can't drive because you might die or kill someone else because of a seizure. Started taking methylene blue instantaneously. It's not like, oh, it needs to build up for 3 weeks. Nope. Instantaneously, all the seizures stop. And then I had to worry about brain damage. And I just found out 30 something percent of my hippocampus is dead. 30 something percent of my left cerebellum is dead as we speak right now.
Damn.
And about 40% of my right parietal lobe, which is involved in a lot of stuff like sensory motor stuff and balance and coordination. So as we stand right now, as my brain is right now, I should not be functioning at the level I am by any means. I shouldn't be writing books. I shouldn't be able to ride a motorcycle.
Which is incredible. I mean, you would never know. I've been hanging out with you here for the last 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And doing all kinds of stuff, writing academic papers,
Yeah.
building courses, shooting videos. Yeah, I mean,
And that's largely methylene blue. Next would be turkey tail on a daily basis and therapeutic doses of, well, once a month I have to fly to another state because it's not legal here to use psilocybin. And psilocybin is magic mushrooms. That is if you just look at any research on psilocybin, it's the most effective drug that's ever been tested in human history.
wow.
Period. Hands down. Maybe next to aspirin
Right.
as effectiveness goes.
And what were the benefits of the psilocybin, do you think, for you?
Well, the benefits on record are that it promotes neurogenesis, which means we're making new baby neurons start coming out. And then it promotes this other thing called synaptic plasticity. And this is also like, if you hear people on YouTube talk about neuroplasticity, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So if there's a dead tissue here in the brain, I want this neuron to start talking to this neuron. So they kind of like reach around that little dead area so they can talk to each other.
Which is incredible that can happen. It's like, wow.
Yeah, it is totally fascinating. But that is one of the big things. Hyperbaric oxygen has drastically reduced a lot of that stuff for me. Red light therapy is probably one of the top 5. Now, right beside us, right here, right behind Merlin, is 2 big giant red light therapy machines. One of them is like a helmet that looks like throw a picture on this.
Yeah, it looks like the helmet of Magneto
Yeah.
from X-Men, kind of.
Yeah, it does. So red light therapy is fantastic, man. I could go on a 3-hour lecture about how amazing benefits of red light therapy are.
I think I heard there's some kind of correlation between that and the methylene blue too, right?
Yeah. Well, if something's blue, like my blue jeans are blue because they reflect blue light.
Right.
But that also means that they absorb red, right? So if I take methylene blue and it has an affinity for neuronal tissue, that means it dyes your neurons blue temporarily. That means that it's sucking up way more red photons. And it uses the photons as energy inside of your cells, mitochondria. Leave it at that.
Yeah, well, man, that's cool though. That's pretty neat.
It is really cool. And finally, I've just very recently got onto this new protocol that I guarantee you is helping my entire body, not just my brain. But in between the hyperbaric treatments, I'll use CO2 therapy. So there's a technique called a carbogen where it's basically like an oxygen mask that you have like in an ambulance or something or an ER.
Yeah.
And it's tied to a CO2 tank. And you're just kind of breathing CO2 for like 20, 25 minutes every few days. There's some protocols that they have, but essentially it tells your body that it tells your cells like, hey man, we're not getting enough oxygen right now. So your cells start signaling telomeres and signaling different parts of your body to say, hey, we need to be better at sucking up oxygen. So after a round of CO2 therapy, your body is reprogramming itself bit by bit every time you do it a little bit more to get better at getting oxygen. If you just look at someone aging, like someone's health declining,
Yeah.
even if they have some kind of horrible diagnosis and they die at 35, as they're getting close to dying, you can look up their body's oxygen consumption levels and oxygen production levels, and you could just see it go down. So, like, there's a pretty direct correlation with aging and your body's ability to produce oxygen. If you're over 60, your body's making, I think, I'm paraphrasing here, but I think it's about 20 to 15% less oxygen, which means every organ in your body is getting about 20% less oxygen.
Right.
So I think oxygen is pretty damn crucial.
Well, it's like oxygen and water, right? Two almost important things in the human body.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I did not know how that works. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. And I think the final element of my brain thing is melatonin and going high, hardcore dose on melatonin. And that is, most people, like, we go to Walgreens or a drugstore and get melatonin. It's like 2, maybe 4 milligrams for the big dose.
Yeah.
I do 200 almost every day.
Wow.
And it is, if you look up melatonin, people think it's for sleep. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants on our planet. It's been researched for hundreds of years already. Like it's not like some fringe research that just came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's proven, and it regulates your body's cellular respiration. It helps your body produce more ATP, which is our energy.
Yeah.
So it helps every cell in our body stay super, super healthy. And recently, just to give you an idea of like cellular health, and if I can make a million cells healthy, like what does that really mean? Like researchers just found a new way to scan the brain, and this was this year, I think, in January 2025. And they took a slice of the brain, and they were able to image 900 million neuronal connections, neurons all talking to each other.
Wow.
Guess how wide the picture was? How wide the square was that they imaged? 1 micron. Whoa. That's how much neural connections and all that shit. Right. It is micron. So like if you imagine like a micron is, let's just call it a human hair.
Right. Probably smaller than that.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like 900 million little neural connections inside of that.
Wow.
Or it just kind of helps us to visualize how.
Hard to fathom though, even. It's
Yeah. And it's not all a bunch of little tiny neurons. We have neurons in our body that are like 8 feet long, some of them. 6 feet long.
Damn.
So you have some neurons that have to kind of terminate at the base of your spinal cord. They got to all go all the way down to that little big toe, to the end of your big toe.
Yeah.
So, and depending on how tall someone is, they're going to have some super long neurons in their body. So we have neuron as one cell. That's a long cell.
Yeah. And that's incredible. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing all this stuff about the neuroscience, because I know, kind of optimizing health is a big thing in your life, and it's kind of been a big part of your story in terms of figuring out your brain and overcoming all of that. If we back up for 1 second, we kind of did neuroscience forward from retirement. So we go back to retirement and the birth of, I think it was AVR was the first company, right? Applied Baby Research
Ellipsis.
or Ellipsis, right? Ellipsis Research, maybe.
Ellipsis lab.
Ellipsis
Laboratory.
Okay, Ellipsis Laboratories. We go with that.
Something like that.
Something like that. And I think you published your first book, or you've written your first book at least, while you're at the very end of active duty, right?
Yeah. And published.
Yeah, and published. All right, so let's do that then. Let's go end of retirement. What did you think that would maybe be your career after retirement? And then how did the birth of this incredible company that you've now built get started?
As I'm retiring, I'm living with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. She's actually in the next room. And I had a resume typed up, and I was applying to be a guy working in the shipyard, fitting people's faces with PPE and safety gear.
That's just nuts. Just good. The great Chase Hughes.
Yeah.
I know you're just a normal guy at the end of the day too, but a lot of people look up to you, and I certainly do, and it's incredible to me the depth of your knowledge and skills. And in my mind, it's actually a really interesting story, because it just kind of goes to show, like, for me, anyways, it makes me feel like, dang, well, if Chase was feeling like he was about to go just fit masks in a Navy shipyard at one point in his life and really thought that what he was going to do, maybe some roofer from Canada could be more than a roofer from Canada as well, Yeah. Like, so I think it's a great story in a way. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there, I think, that have so much potential inside of them and so much capacity to give to the world, but they kind of holding themselves back.
Yeah.
In some ways, they're kind of chained by these beliefs, and we have to get right into it. But the things we all know, you and I both know about all of the things people go through in childhood,
Yeah.
and our limiting beliefs and societal programming and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, walk us through that process. What was that like for you retiring? How'd that feel? And what all happened there?
I had this resume kind of all put together. I had it professionally looked at by the Navy. The Navy helps you do all of this, get ready for civilian world. But one thing they'll make you do is think small. The Navy will force you to think very, very, very small. And after 20 years of that kind of programming, that doesn't just like, oh, I'm a civilian now, I'm going to go run a company. Like that wasn't in my brain at all. So I was going to get a job at the shipyard in Norfolk here in Virginia, just helping fit paint spray respirators to people's face and goggles and make sure they have the right suit, the right size protective suit on.
Yeah.
Like $16 an hour or something like that. And my mentor said, if you keep that resume, you're going to use it. You're going to send it to somebody. And if you get a job offer, that's going to feel more secure, and you're not going to pursue your passion. You're not going to go forward with your company because you're safe. You're making money. You're collecting your retirement check from the military, and they pay you for the rest of your life. The military does,
Right.
if you retire after 20 years.
Yep.
So I remember talking to Michelle, and I said, I'm going to throw this away. I'm going to shred the resume, and we might be poor, and we might be poor for a little while, but I have to give this a shot, or I'm going to be mad at myself for it. She said, okay, that's fine. We'll be poor. And Michelle, my wife,
She's, oh yeah, I'm getting goosebumps. I think if one thing not everybody knows about is the incredible belief that Michelle had in your ability
more than mine.
from day one, like, not to make you want to cry, Like it was, to me, that's one of the most special parts about the story is she saw something in you and believed in you even more than you're willing to believe in yourself.
Right, 100%.
And like it's such a special thing to have. Yeah.
My belief is like 5% of what she believed that I was capable of doing, and she's the reason that I'm successful. That woman in there, and she's breastfeeding a baby, as we're saying. I don't hear any crying happening. So I was about to cry too, but that was it. And she said, "I don't give a shit. If we're poor, then we're gonna be poor. Like I know you're going to be successful. So the poor thing is just funny."
Right.
It was to her. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did it, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna launch an event in London. I'll teach an event," and I wasn't popular. Like, I don't think many people knew who I was.
You first published Looks is Made, right? It was like just okay, some random dude published a book and nobody's buying it. Some another random book on Amazon.
They bought it
Oh, they bought it right away?
within a week. It was the number one bestseller,
Really?
and it stayed number one bestseller for 4 years.
Man, that's so incredible.
Yeah, because like the first time I was on the toilet when I saw that it was a number one bestseller on Amazon,
Yeah.
and I screenshotted it as fast as I could because the first thought in my head was Amazon screwed up, and I just want to get a picture of their mistake.
Right.
That was my first thought. Not that I had a bestseller. That did not enter my mind.
What do you think was made it sell right from the beginning? There's so many people out there try to publish books that just get no one reads it.
I had a website at the time. I kind of kept a little blog up. I did this thing at Colgate that kind of went viral. At Colgate University, made a YouTube video about that. I think it's still on YouTube. And there were enough people in some weird niche of the world that knew who I was. God bless all of them, man. I still talk to many, many of them. You know, several of them, like Todd.
Yep.
They believed in me more than me. Granted, I had to pretend like I believed as much as they did
Yeah.
at the beginning because I did not. I had no belief. But Michelle's like, "Oh, we need to go big with a course. We're going to rent out Winston Churchill's World War II bunker in London,
Yeah.
a military war bunker, and you're going to teach your first course ever in there." And it happened a day after I became a civilian. My course started. So I became a civilian overnight in the plane on the way to London.
Yeah.
It was my retirement, my official retirement.
Wow.
And man, the course sold out. People were there all over the place. Everybody loved it. And somehow, like after that course, I was like, this might freaking work.
Yeah.
It's like I made enough money, and for the first time in my life, like I have enough money, like I can go buy a new car.
Right.
I was driving a Ford Fusion that was falling apart at the time, and I was like, I can get a new freaking car right now. And I went and I was like, I'm going all balls to the wall with this car. And I got a Ford Explorer, a used Ford Explorer.
For you, that was like basically a Mercedes-Benz kind of,
Yeah,
yeah, because that's what's your frame of reference.
yeah,
Yeah, it was for you just having not a falling apart car was basically,
Yeah.
you made it. Do you want to tell the story of how you didn't know to do an upsell at the first event?
yeah.
So you didn't have any complaints?
I didn't have anything to sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there were like 15 people. There were 30, 40 people there at that event in London. And we still have the recordings there. We should re-release it or
That
something
would be fun.
to watch watch when like everyone in that room paid enough money to indicate that they believed in me more than I believed in me
Right.
on that day. And it'll be fun to watch. Maybe just as an analysis, maybe just throw a clip right up here right now. But that was when I realized learned what an upsell was though. 10, 12 people came up to me and they're like, "Hey man, are you doing an upsell?" And I thought they were asking me because they were suspicious of me.
Right.
And not because like, "Oh, where's you're a manipulation expert.
Right.
When is the upsell coming?" And I was like, "No, there's no upsell. It's okay. Everything's good." And they're like, "Why aren't you doing an upsell?"
Yeah, that's not like, want to give you money.
Yeah, they were upset. And I just didn't understand at the time. I didn't know anything about business. I knew nothing about the civilian world. I know nothing about London.
Yeah.
I was like so far out of my depth. So that's when I learned, like, they told me, like, we want to pay you more. We want to do more things with you.
Right. They want to learn more. They want to get more skills. They believe in what you're teaching. Yeah.
But they're like, you need to ask us for money and give us something and we'll figure something out, which we did. Like, we'll email them a few weeks later. We're like, hey, I got this thing I put together.
Yeah.
And they loved it. Some of them are still with us.
Yeah. When they listen to Earth of the Mastery, was you're like, oh, well, I could do like a Zoom call every week.
Yeah. And that was it. That was 6 years ago. And I've never missed one. Well, I mean, we've had guest speakers and stuff. But for 6 years, every Sunday, 5 p.m., boom, go deliver a sermon.
It's like your church. It really is. Yeah. How many internally, I think as a company now, we have 900 hours, something crazy. Those because of your consistency for 6 years. It adds up, it turns out.
Yeah. That could be a separate book.
Yeah.
That would be really cool to turn that into some kind of a book and take out all the profanity. But yeah, that was it. That was the birth. And then I slowly started realizing more and more that, like, these aren't just military skills. Like, this is just a human brain is a human brain.
Right.
I hope that burp didn't come on the mic, but
That'll be fine.
that's the biggest thing that I realized, that, like, I didn't believe in me unless I was back in the military.
Yeah.
Like, if I could walk out in the room and I would have had more confidence, like, maybe let me go put my dress uniform on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it felt like I had a suit on, which felt like a freaking costume to me. It always felt like a costume, which is why, like, I don't wear that stuff anymore. I don't really do that anymore because it just doesn't feel like me. And I think those people, the people who attended London, Todd Stevens was one of them. And Todd Stevens is still with us.
Yeah. Great guy.
Grant Morrell,
Grab Morale.
and
Absolute legend.
just some wonderful, wonderful human beings that came out there. And, like, just their belief in me was enough to kind of push me over the edge to, like, okay, I'm going to spread my wings and we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. And it worked.
And when you did the Chase Hughes thing, like with everything, when you committed, you went all in.
I went all in. Within 2 years, I was on Forbes. I was in Forbes magazine.
Which is crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I was like making $3K a month to Forbes in 2 years. But I went all in, and I was 18-hour workdays. Maybe on Christmas was a 12-hour workday.
yeah. And that's one thing. When the first time I came to hang out with you at your house for 3 or 4 days, which was years ago now, that was a big realization for me. Was seeing, okay, you see the popularity, you see the published books, you see the courses, etc., and it all looks appealing, right? Especially coming from someone who doesn't have much. You're like, wow, it's pretty damn cool. This person's done all of this. That looks awesome. Like, I would like to have some of that.
Yeah.
But then you see what goes on to make all of that reality.
Yeah.
And that was a big wake up call for me, because it's one thing to say that you work 18 hours a day. And some people kind of like, yeah, I work a lot, da, da, da. But to see is like, no, like the computer is ready the night before, 4:05, like 4 a.m., the eyes open, 4:05 a.m., and the fingers are typing.
Yeah.
And there is no leaving that room until like 1 p.m. When, by the way, now your Zoom meetings start, and you're on Zoom meetings.
Until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And that's, on days when there's no behavior panels, and some days there's and
then there's Saturday and Sunday.
yep. That was the other thing, was your approach. I noticed is like, days of the week did not exist to you. Yeah. Saturdays and Sundays it's irrelevant. It's just a morning, an afternoon, and a night, 365.
Yeah. And I don't think that was like, oh, I'm hustling.
Right.
I never viewed that as hustle. That was like, I found something that lit me up so much. I love doing
Yeah.
that. I feel like I'm artist, and it felt like I discovered my art, and like, I can get up in the morning when no one's awake. I can work for 6, 7 hours before anyone's even up.
Right.
And if I can work for 4 to 8 hours before people even get up, I can get my art done first. And then like, let's build this company, let's build the company. It was never about a company. Like, I wanted this system to be out there. Like, we've had psychiatrists and psychologists and all that in our training in grad school. All of them say, like, this 3-hour segment or whatever, however they describe it, was better than like 6 years of college.
Yeah, or that's only best.
From MD psychiatrists.
It's still surprising to me. Sometimes like polls don't like it's something that seems unbelievable till you hear it and you're like, really? And you hear it again, and you're like, all right. Like I've never been to psychology school, so I couldn't tell you, but
Yeah.
we've heard it over and over and over again. And every field. And people who are leading sales professionals, like some of the literally the world's top salespeople,
Yeah.
coming in and saying, I've never heard influence training like this before. This is completely remapping the way I think of things.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. Yeah, then government agencies, different government employees from all different walks of life throughout all of the different agencies. Seriously, such a cool group of people that you've been able to put together. I mean, the family I think that we've built in NCI University is got to be one of the most special parts about the whole thing.
Bar none. Bar none. Some good people, good folks. Good be yourself.
Yes, sir. I'm trying my best. All right. Cool. Yeah, I think that was good. I don't think we need to go too much into the details of NCI University after that because people can go out there and see that. But let's give maybe just where is NCI at now? So we kind of started off with those humble beginnings. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you probably know it blew up. Chase built tons of online courses, started teaching live events all around the world.
Yeah.
Started working with people like Dr. Phil, Roy Jones Jr. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so where do you feel like NCI University is at now? And what's your dream and your hope for the next 5, 10, 15 years of NCI University?
I think my dreams changed a lot. Initially, my dream was let's build the system that's going to really stand the test of time. That a system that doesn't, it's not named after me. It's not the Hughes method or anything like that. Build a system that other people can kind of carry, but not only just carry, other people can add on to it and make it better. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to have my name plastered on it like logo theses that you see so many people doing.
Yeah.
I wanted to build a cool system. That's it. But now I think I'm shifting a lot more towards I want to train people to be so good at these skills that they live in a completely different version of reality than other people.
Yeah.
Part two of that being, I would love, there's a weird thing going on around the world. I think 100% of people can feel it. Like there's something there's a shift changing. And I would like to push from behind that shift and try to help usher in some kind of global awakening. Not religious, not spiritual, just a awakening to like, let's find the truth.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, myself included, for 99% of my life, deeply confused the difference between something that's true and something that is the truth.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things.
Right. Yeah, it seems like just a play of words, but it's really not. If you start to break that statement down, there is some deep truth in it.
Yeah.
That's
with a capital T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. That's such a beautiful purpose, I think. And just to try to be a small part of that with no outcomes. So we got no Scientology ticket to sell you. We got no leader. We got no leader, no guru. Yeah.
The people participating become their own guru, right? Not me. I'm not healed.
Yes. I think an incredible goal to kind of help people to break free from all the bullshit, for lack of a better word, that we get tied down with. I mean,
Including our own.
yeah.
Like there's all kinds of societal programming, and then there's self-programming that we need to get out. And we don't need to do it by doing firewalks and other stuff like that. You get it by learning the truth.
100%.
And letting go of things instead of picking new ones up.
Yeah. So well said, man.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming in today, sir.
Thanks for watching it. If you made it this far.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.